Jamie Carragher insisted the Champions League is bigger than the Premier League, and insisted he would not swap his winner's medal in 2005 for a domestic title. I always say we were nowhere near the best team in Europe, and at times for a lot of years the best team in Europe doesn't win the Champions League. My point being, even Sir Alex Ferguson when he started, the Holy Grail was the European Cup. One fan put to Carragher that he'd rather have won the league than the Champions League, leading to the ex-Reds defender snapping back without hesitation, not a chance. The way we won that game in Istanbul, you think I'd change that for a Premier League? I just think there's 25 leagues across Europe every year, or maybe more, 35, 40. Someone wins the league every year, there's only one team that wins the European Cup. Neville replied, Pep is unbelievable, so we're arguing about something that's hypothetical, but I just think what Sir Alex Ferguson did for British football and the Premier League, I don't think can be surpassed. He was in the birth years of the Premier League, the football that was played, the electricity, the character and personality. The City fan in the audience admitted there was very little to separate the pair, before Neville acknowledged, Pep's had the biggest influence on style of play. He has influenced League Two teams. Neville and Carragher were asked whether Pep Guardiola could ever be considered the Premier League's greatest manager. Carragher agreed that Ferguson deserves to be recognised as no one. Claiming that one thing will prevent Guardiola from seizing top spot, there's one thing Pep's never done, and he'll never do because of the clubs he's had, he's never won with an underdog, Carragher said, whereas Ferguson, or even a Mourinho, Klopp at Dortmund, Pep's just always had the biggest teams, hasn't he? Talk then turned to whether winning the Champions League was a bigger achievement than lifting a domestic title. The majority of fans and Neville disagreed with the statement. But Carragher was adamant that the European Cup is worthy of a higher ranking of importance. I'd argue this all day that it's the Champions League, he insisted. I think that's what elevates Liverpool's standing in the world is the European Cup. I go back to the Italian teams, the biggest team in Italy is Juventus. But I think if you ask most people who's your favorite Italian team or the Italian you remember, I think most of us would say AC Milan because of the European Cup. It was pointed out by a United fan that teams can get easier runs in Europe, while everyone plays the same teams every year in their league. The same supporter also referred to how Carragher's Liverpool team finished fifth the same year they won the Champions League in Istanbul. Sir Alex or Pep? Carragher or Neville? PL or UCL? Fans ask questions. Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher deliver their verdicts on the Premier League's greatest rivalry, the Pep Guardiola vs Sir Alex Ferguson debate, and whether winning the Champions League is bigger than a domestic title. Fans got the chance to put Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher on the spot on the latest episode of The Overlap as they put their questions to the punditry duo. With Manchester City and Liverpool vying for the Premier League title once again, this time alongside Arsenal, Neville was asked whether their rivalry could be seen as better than the one his Manchester United side had with Arsenal for several years at the turn of the millennium. He delivered an emphatic response, not a chance, he declared. Carragher and some fans quickly mentioned the points totals that City and Liverpool have reached in recent years gave their rivalry the edge, but Neville was having none of it. Jamie Carragher, left, and Gary Neville, right, answered fans' questions on The Overlap. Neville is adamant Man United's rivalry with Arsenal at the turn of the millennium is the Premier League's greatest rivalry. Carragher feels the current rivalry between Man City and Liverpool has a case for being a greater rivalry. We were absolutely punch for punch, beating each other up off the pitch, on the pitch, he added. The ferocity of the games. The unpredictability of the games. The length of the thing was 7 years, 4 titles to United, 3 to Arsenal. It was a proper rivalry. Neville and Carragher may have disagreed on that one, but they did fall on the same side when discussing the legacies of Pep Guardiola and Sir Alex Ferguson. Carragher asked Neville and the fans in attendance whether Guardiola will be seen as the greatest Premier League manager when he leaves English football.